InsideLINES podcast live at Super Bowl 56 at Nordstrom The Grove. We are so excited.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for joining us today. We have some fun stuff planned today, Tia. You ready?
Yes.
I'm your host, Atoya Burleson.
And I am Tia Avril.
And we're happy you could join us today. We have some amazing women that we would love to bring on first. We are going to start with...
Well, first, let's talk about this game. All right.
Well, the Super Bowl game?
Yeah, the Super Bowl game.
All right.
Like, do we have any Ram fans in here? A few? So y'all may be like me and rooting for the underdogs. How many bingo fans do we got?
Not that many.
No, it's not. I guess
We're in LA. It makes sense.
that is true. That is true. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and kick off the first segment.
Yeah, we're going to start with the ladies. We have three amazing ladies that we're going to bring out. They are women entrepreneurs. First off, we'll start with a lady that has a passion for cannabis. She focuses on advocacy, education, and empowerment. Please welcome to the show the cannabis cutie, a.k.a. Tammy Pettigrew!
Hey, Tammy.
Hello.
Now, if you know me, then you know this next guest speaks to my soul. She and her husband, Jeff Allen, turned their passion for baking the ultimate cookie into the most delicious business. That business is Dallas-based gourmet cookie shop, The Cookie Society. Please welcome Marissa Allen.
Hi, Marissa. And last but not least, this woman I met, she is the founder of an amazing fashion line. I've kind of worn her outfits a few times. She started in St. Louis during the pandemic, and she started a brand called Norfit. It's a Black-owned business, and the outfits are amazing. Please welcome to the show, Carla Pace.
Hi, ladies.
Hey. I just want to welcome you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. And I want to talk about, we just talked about you starting, Carla, you starting your business during the pandemic. Let's talk about that. How in the world did you decide to start a business during a pandemic?
Absolutely. So Norfit was created during the pandemic in response to the health disparities that we saw that became abundantly clear. Yeah. You know, we saw a lot of people that were struggling mentally and physically, just trying to keep up with their self-care and wellness. So we started with a group of friends who decided to work out outdoors because all of the gyms were closed throughout the nation. So we started Norfit. We saw a lot of people working out with boring fitness wear, and we wanted to say,
boring fitness wear.
Yes. We consider Norfit to produce products and fitness wear with flair. So a lot of our products, our leggings, have that snatch in your waist that everybody wants, and we try to solve a lot of problems with fit and functionality with our fitness brand.
Yeah, I agree. I love the high-waisted band. I feel like as you get a little older, you need somebody to like tuck it in and suck it in. And so when you're working out and you raise your arms up, you don't want your stuff to slide down. So I loved that your leggings, they fit snug and tight and they hold you in the right places. I really did.
Marissa, how about you? How did the pandemic and how things were moving and getting shut down, how did that affect your business?
Greatly. So it was, we actually opened our first retail bakery the week that Texas got put on a stay-at-home notice. So we never opened our doors for the first few months, and we were doing curbside. And it was really word of mouth and just community support that really kind of lifted us up during that. But at the same time, we became a part of a lot of people's routines because they wanted a treat. Like, they needed something to look forward to because so much was uncertain at the time. So it's been a ride. It's been a journey.
So everything you did was through word of mouth?
Everything. And so we would put a cart outside and we'd run to cars like, hey, would you like some cookies? And, they're like, I've never even heard of this, but sure, since you guys are out here, I feel bad for you. And they actually fell in love and they just kept coming back, and we still have regulars because of that, so.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Okay, so we know everybody was sitting at home, didn't have too much to do.
Correct.
But a lot of people found their new passion in cannabis.
Yes.
Okay. So can you tell us a little bit about your business and kind of like how it thrived and continues to thrive through the pandemic as well?
Yeah, for me, during the pandemic, everyone was at home, and then weed was this new big thing. Everybody wanted to start smoking weed. You don't have to go anywhere. But a lot of people were still confused as to what it meant, and I started a cannabis Instagram page where I decided to just break down why this one plant can help with 20 different ailments, because in people's mind, it made absolutely no sense. And I prided myself on breaking down this really complex science in a digestible way for people to understand. And that it just took off during the pandemic. And my entire business went from, oh, I'm just like a micro influencer trying to teach the world about weed, to now I have a show with Snoop Dogg. So it like quickly, like during the pandemic, blew up for me. So I quit at the top of the pandemic because I was like, nobody wants to know about this. And then by summertime, my life had changed. So it was pretty incredible.
Now, if you guys are familiar with our audio podcast, of course, then you know that Tammy came on. She was the very first guest of the season.
Yes.
And she sent our Instagram ablaze with a comment about introducing cannabis to kids under the notion of you're giving your kids these different drugs, you don't know what's in it, et cetera. And sometimes cannabis can be a cure for or a solution for some of their ailments. So talk a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, whenever I tell moms that I give my kids CBD for headaches or for pain or for fevers, they're like, you give your kids CBD? And I'm like, yeah, you give your kids meth, Adderall. Like, let's not judge each other here. But yeah, I mean, we all have these systems in our body that essentially are like locks. And there's only a specific set of keys that'll fit in these locks. The keys are called endocannabinoids, and if you don't produce enough, there are phytocannabinoids produced by the plant. So your kids have this system in their body, so do adults, so do animals, so does the eggs, so does the sperm, so does everything. So our children's bodies know how to receive CBD in a non-toxic way versus Aleve or Adderall or Tylenol that can be damaging to the liver.
Yeah. What do you think is the biggest stereotype when it comes to when like that mom, and she said to you, like, why would you give your kids that?
Yeah.
Like in her head, she obviously thought
Yeah.
there was something wrong with it. What would you like to?
You know, I feel like when we start to judge things that nature makes over what man has made, I mean, weed has killed no one. It's killed as many people as it's killed unicorns, which is 0. So we can't continue to judge a plant. We kind of have to learn how to take that information that we've been given and try to think for ourselves here. It's a non-toxic plant. It literally is just that. The most dangerous part of the plant is getting caught with it and then having to live as a second citizen in this country. Now you are legally to be discriminated against in employment, housing, work, voting, holding a passport, jury service. That's the most dangerous side effect, is getting caught with an illegal plant. But if you could unlearn that portion and kind of start to see the therapeutic benefits, then you can kind of unlearn what you've been taught, which is man made good, God made bad.
Yeah,
So,
that's good.
Yeah.
Now, Marissa, you got a chance to sit down with the shark himself, Mark Cuban. So what kind of insight did you gain from that experience?
It was amazing getting to speak to someone who has done so much in his community, for his community, as a business owner. And so I just had a lot of questions. I remember the night before, I was just humming with energy because I was like, I only got 15 minutes. Or it ended up being a half-hour conversation. It was an amazing conversation. But it was really about entrepreneurship and going at a sustainable speed, and actually how to run an ethical business, because we were talking about the franchise model. We're actually opening our second store here in a few weeks in the Dallas area, which we're really excited about. Thank you. And my husband and I, we own our business 100%. And we have opened both of these, and we talked about franchising. We get asked all the time. And he said, don't take somebody's hard-earned lifetime work if you're not ready, if your business isn't there to give to them. So if there's still something you want to develop in your business, if there's still processes that you need to work on, take the time to do that. Like, you guys are doing great now, why change it? And that was just such a great, the timing was awesome, because you do feel a lot of this outside pressure. You feel it from Instagram, you feel it from just social media in general, because it looks like everybody is thriving. It looks like everybody is just running 7, 8-figure businesses, and they might be, but they also probably aren't, because it takes a lot of work. And, to just really just not put on some blinders. Don't look at that, don't listen to that, keep going your pace, because you're doing something right. You need to isolate what you're doing well, isolate what needs improvement, and then go from there. So
Now, when you started with your cookie, I know you tasted other people's cookie, let's be clear.
Yes.
And you were like, there's some, I don't like this, I don't like that. How did you come up with your recipe that you felt like this is it?
Oh my goodness, I've made hundreds of thousands of cookies. My husband, his teammates have eaten thousands of cookies. And it wasn't necessarily like, I don't like this. It was just like, what do I want in my cookie? And so it was really learning new techniques. So it was more like, how did she get that in the middle of this cookie, or he, or whoever the baker was? And then I would kind of go back to the drawing board and just keep playing around. And we ended up on something that is working for us. So.
You can't disclose it, I get it. Now, Carla, we know it's Black History Month, and something incredible happened for you and your brand in St. Louis. You want to tell everyone about it?
Yes, absolutely. So we started off Black History Month by making history. So Norfit is the first Black-owned athletic line to be featured in Neiman Marcus in St. Louis. They're doing a curated marketplace for Black History Month. So we, along with several other brands, were selected to be represented as part of that for Black History Month. And it has been fantastic. It's been amazing for us. Just the whole interaction with people when they come into the store, they're excited about our brand. They get to see, touch, and feel our products. And they can also go directly to our website to purchase what we have. We really do have some fun and funky prints. So, and it's also functional because our leggings, they don't roll down. Our bras are full coverage. So it's a lot of things that we solve a lot of problems in the fitness industry that you don't see with some of the other brands. So we're there at Neiman Marcus St. Louis, and then we're also at the Village Market Retail in Atlanta. I'm not sure if you guys knew that as well.
That. Congratulations,
Yes.
I didn't know that.
So that's another curated marketplace down at Ponce City Market in Atlanta. So they do feature a lot of Black-owned brands down there as well. So we've been there for about 2 months as well. So you can go online to the Village Retail or to norfit.com to find our stuff. Yeah.
Now, I know like getting into the athletic wear industry in general is very hard to do, right? Like, so how have you been able to navigate that space?
To get in the athletic wear industry?
Yeah, like
it is. What I'm finding though is there's space for everyone. I mean, it is a very saturated marketplace. I mean, you have so many brands. I mean, Lululemon is everywhere. You know, you just have to understand that there's a piece of the pie that's available for you. So, you know, you just have to offer something that's a little different than everybody else. So we actually put a lot of time into the design process. All of our prints are custom prints. We actually have an artist that draws our prints, and everything is sublimated onto fabric. So when you find our leggings, you won't be able to find it anywhere else. So, you know, just going through that whole technical design process to try to solve some of the problems that some of these other brands have not been able to do in the past has really helped us thrive and put out a really good product. So it's been good. So far, so good.
So I have a question for all of you guys. So all of your husbands played in the NFL at some point, right? And we've been introduced to all these people. We have all these resources. But sometimes I don't think we do a great job of leveraging those resources, right? So when you're thinking about a business is networking. How have you guys, or what have you guys learned about relationships and how to manage them with the resources you have during our time in the league that helped you with your business?
Sure, I can take it first. Absolutely. No, I just, you know, our husbands do have access to a lot of resources, and it's important when you can to tap into those resources and don't be afraid to put yourself out there. I mean, you present your product just like you would with anything else, just to kind of see what connections you can make. Like, for instance, Norfit, we were also part of the fashion show yesterday. We donated to the swag bags for all the models and the 150 VIPs, you know, so just utilize those resources to kind of market and get your brand out there. So all of that stuff, you know, just take advantage of what is available to you.
Yeah, I would say the same. And it's not a hard sell getting cookies in these guys' hands. They're hungry. And so we have shipped to probably every single locker room in the NFL. We definitely get a lot of preseason packages going. So right after they come back from camp, you know, they want to treat themselves. And so we make sure we're in those locker rooms. And it's really just, you know, my husband played for nine seasons. So it's, hey, call in some people, because no one ever stays anywhere for long, right? And so after they've dispersed, and we're like, hey, would you guys like some cookies? Like, on us, we'll send them to you. And that's been huge. And we've never asked anything of them when we send the cookies. It's really like, if you like them and you want to share them, you can. Half the time they get eaten too fast, but it's all good. So I would definitely say that's how we've leveraged that.
For me, I'm a part of the number that's divorced. So for me, why I wanted to start cannabis education was mostly for the women. The women have to navigate a lot, especially when it comes to retirement. And I feel like there's a dark period that a lot of the men go through. Women need tools, kids that are playing football need tools, and men who have brains that are essentially shrinking and going through PTSD need different tools than toxic pharmaceuticals. So for me, I kind of try to position myself as somebody who can help navigate some of those treacherous waters. And I don't really speak too loudly about it yet. I am starting a sports and cannabis podcast, so now I'll kind of call on old friends to have these conversations. But for the most part, I kind of it's word of mouth of, hey, my husband can't sleep anymore. He's really irritable. Can you please recommend something? He's in a ton of pain, but he doesn't want to be addicted to pills again. So I kind of help consult there and just kind of help remove any stigma that they have.
Yeah. That's important, I think, because I think we all grew up in that era where you were told not to do it, right?
Yeah.
And this is why you just don't do it, because it leads to this or leads to that. So definitely educating people on what it really is so important. A question that I have for you guys, because I think this is important for a lot of women who may have had dreams while their husbands were playing, right? But you couldn't quite do it because you're traveling, you're taking care of your husbands, you're supporting everyone else, and you don't have time for yourself. Was it easier for you guys to find your craft or what you wanted to do after everything settled, when the men were done? Is that when you kind of had the time?
I would say yes for me, for sure. My husband, Orlando Pacey's actually in the audience right now, and we have 4 kids. So, and they're pretty much back to back. Every year and a half, it seems like we were having another baby. So I would always show up at the Pro Bowls pregnant, and they were like, are you still pregnant from last time? And I'm like, no, this is a different child. So, it is, now that he's retired, he's home a lot more, and we're able to tag team and work together in terms of taking care of the kids and getting them back and forth of wherever they need to go. So it is a little easier when your kids are older. However, I will say teenagers have different needs, so you're not completely disconnected just yet, and I don't know if you ever are, because they always call and need stuff. But I will say, now that he's retired and available more than he was when he was playing, it is a lot easier to focus on things that you may have wanted to do for a long time. So, yes.
Definitely. Same for us. I was making cookies. I was always cooking at a food blog before I started the bakery, and I always had taste testers available, but I also knew it wasn't going to be viable for me while he was still actively playing to try to start a business. It was very, very hands-on in the beginning. It was me and anybody else I could get to come to the kitchen. So it was me, it was him in the off season, it was my mother-in-law, it was my parents, and trying to get out to farmers markets was a chore. And so I knew that for us to really dive into this, we were gonna have to kind of wait for that chapter to close. But at the same time, him being available, he's been such a huge support. Like, we're both in the business, kind of tag teaming it. He's behind the scenes, I'm making cookies. And I just knew that was God's timing. It wasn't meant for me in Houston. It wasn't meant for me while he was playing, so.
For me, I would say I kind of really lost my identity and just became a mom and a wife. And that was it. I wasn't even thinking about me or myself until I decided I need to go back to school because we're at the back end and I've got to get back to work. And I still, didn't know what I wanted to do, even in grad school. I made every project over cannabis and it still didn't click. Like, this is what I'm going to be doing. So for me, I would say during the career, there was no way that I was even thinking about what I wanted to do with the rest of my life.
Yeah. It's very common. I think about, Tia and I with our kids, and you're always on, right? You're always on. So when do you have the time to really sit and invest in yourself and your dreams and the things that you want to do when you're giving a lot of yourself to so many other people? So I guess that's, for any women that are feeling that out there, it is very common to, you have to wait a little while, but eventually those dreams do unfold. And like you said, in the right time.
Yeah, you definitely got to learn how to prioritize yourself. So, like you do. I mean, Listen. Okay. Okay. So it feels like you can't have a successful business without having some sort of social media presence. How do you guys have a social presence, but still maintain your authenticity, right? And because you want people to trust you, trust your brand, trust what you're doing. But to your point, it's like everybody doing something, and it may not be real.
Yeah, different from.
Gosh, for me, I am boldly honest. I will never be the mom that's like, I love this. Like, no, it's Tuesday, I don't like my kids. It's hard. If I'm giving 100% to my children, my business is suffering. If I'm giving 100% to my business, my children is suffering. I'm very honest about it. It's messy, it's ugly. I don't try to be anything that I'm not. I do have to kind of differentiate between myself and my social media personality. So when I'm at events or when people are recognizing me, I definitely have to have a different energy versus if I'm in a bad mood because my son jumped off the stairs and now his ankle is sprained. So it's definitely trying to find that balance, but also not lying about it. This is not easy. I may make it look good, but I promise you, I struggle just like you do. And I feel like we need to have more visibility with that, especially as women.
I think that's what's so unique about you is you are honest in every way. And I guess to your point, you're starting this podcast. Do you want to talk about this podcast that you're starting?
Yeah, so initially I was going to have a cannabis education show on all of Snoop's networks, and it was like, wait, you need to talk about your life. So I was like, well, how about sports? I have a sports degree. I worked in sports. I married in sports. I played sports my whole life. My business partners are all in sports. So now we're going to have higher level conversations to kind of talk about cannabis use during playing, and then what else would you like to, give insight, because the feminine perspective is never really talked about in the NFL. Like, we're in the league too. We move away from our families too. We're in a new city for a dream as well. And nobody ever really asks what's that like.
That's good.
It's kind of like military wives as well. So that's kind of the conversations I want to have. And of course, normalizing cannabis use for athletes and for regular people. When you bring in people who have huge fan bases, they're more open and willing to understand. So I'm just really thankful that I'll have some pretty cool names and then Snoop's team backing me and producing it. So that is kind of finally going to be a way to tell my story because I haven't ever really talked about it publicly.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up, what is next for Norfit and the Cookie Society?
Ooh, as I mentioned earlier, we're opening store number 2. We're growing fast. We've tripled our e-commerce business. It's still going strong. I guess we'll thank the pandemic for that. A lot of people wanted cookies to their doorstep, and just a lot of new flavors. And we've really started building this team. I would say kind of October of last year, we started really assembling this team of marketing and social media videographers, strategy. So we're really excited to do that because if you're still working in it, you can't be working on it. So that's our goal for 22.
So for Norfit, a big part of our business is to normalize self-care. I mean, we want to make sure that wellness and fitness is woven into our brand in everything we do. So we do utilize social media to push out fun and inspirational content like exercises. We just try to continue to inspire women to, like you said, we juggle a lot in our lives and we have been doing that for a really long time. So I want women to start to focus on themselves and take better care of themselves. So we really want to continue to inspire and motivate and just create that platform where people can just come to us to try to look to us as a leader in the health and wellness industry. So things are moving very fast. We're growing. As you know, we're in Neiman Marcus and Village Market, and we have a couple of other things in the works that I can't really talk about just yet.
Soon. You'll let us know.
Soon and very, so stay tuned.
And before we wrap, tell anyone listening one piece of advice you would give to them that you didn't know as an entrepreneur that you wish you would have known. There's that one thing that you're like, gosh, I wish someone would have told me this. Is there something you guys can think of to share?
That I wish someone would have told me? Yeah. I think it's that I knew it, but the work is going to feel like work. I know a lot of people talk about, oh, if you do something you love, you never work a day in your life. That's not true. I work really hard, and you have to prepare yourself for that and understand that it's worth it, that you need to be consistent, and you need to constantly apply pressure. If you're not going to grow. So, that's good.
I would say beware of imposter syndrome. For me, that was kind of a difficult thing, delegating tasks. I felt like because somebody else is running my social media, I'm not doing it. This isn't me. These aren't my captions. I'm a liar. I'm a fraud, and that's not true. Those are CEO moves. It's delegating so I can move on and do other things. So definitely beware of that, and just know that wanting to quit is probably very normal. It means you're really close as well.
I would say that time is really your most valuable resource. I mean, as a new entrepreneur, I mean, there are just certain things that you're not going to have time to do. You cannot do it all. So I would say continue to work smarter. And I mean, you're going to work hard regardless. So, you know, say yes to things that are in line with your mission and your purpose. But it's okay to say no to some things too, because at the end of the day, you don't want to burn yourself out, because you still need to allow time to do things that you like to do, like be here at the Super Bowl or hang out with your friends and family or go to dinner or happy hour. So just maintain that balance. That's so important, especially for women, when you're also trying to juggle what you have going on at home as well, in addition to running a new business. So.
That's good. Well, Carla, Marissa, and Tammy, thank you guys so much for joining us. I know that everybody learned something new, and I just wish you guys the best success in your businesses. We can't wait to see what you guys do next, because I know there's things that y'all can talk about, but we can't wait to see what it is. So thank you.
All right, and that was fun. We are just getting started. In a few minutes, we're going to sit down with the host of one of our favorite podcasts.
Okay, y'all, we're back, and we're so excited to have these ladies on the show. They are hilarious, they're unapologetic, and they're unfiltered. We're going to welcome Ashley Weatherspoon and Ashley North from the Ask Ashley podcast. Come on out, ladies. Hey.
What's up, ladies? What's up? You want an inside or on the outside?
Listen.
Oh,
Thank you guys for joining us.
You guys
look
for joining us.
fabulous.
We've been trying to get together with these ladies for a minute. So, I mean, we connected at the dinner, but just getting on the podcast together, we've been trying to get. So we're so grateful that you guys are able to come.
You made it to the West Coast, girl.
I know.
This is it.
I'm not leaving. I'm not going back.
Just stay.
You know, you're the reason why I stayed. When you hit us about this, I was like, so can I keep the guest room for another 5 days? And she's like, yeah. I was like, all right, girl, we in there. No, so excited.
We have so much to talk to you guys about. I want to first start with talking about Dear Young Queen. I don't know if you guys follow it on Instagram, but it's so funny. There's these life lessons. Tell everyone how you decided to start Dear Young Queen.
Yeah, so I basically, and you want to come out the gate with transparency, let's do it, ladies, here we are. I went through a really traumatic breakup. After 5 years in a relationship, my partner left one day and just never came home. We were living together between two cities, and he just decided he wanted to move on with his life. I was a very happy-go-lucky girl. I'm the girl, like on Valentine's Day, like my kitchen is hearts and the wreaths on the door, and I was so full of life, and you know, that was my whole everything, and he really took the life from me. I went through a really bad depression for about 2 years. Ashley, you know, having your best friend as your therapist is one of the people get you through it, but at the same time, Ashley's celebrating these highs. Deshaun's on his way back to the Super Bowl. She's pregnant with a new baby. You stop wanting to give.
Oh, no,
not now. At the time.
Don't put that on.
Yeah, my bad. I'm not gonna do that to you. And at some point, I got tired of talking to my friends that had it all. All of my friends had it all. They had their partners, they had their kids, they had their houses, they had everything, and I felt like I had been knocked down to ground zero. And so I started to write because I didn't feel like I could dump my feelings on my friends anymore. And I started a Medium page, and I started writing blogs, and they picked up. They started getting traction. And all of a sudden, I realized all of these feelings that I thought were feelings of being alone, there were hundreds of women that related to me. There were women that had gone through these things. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna stop being scared to talk about how I feel because I think everybody else has it and I don't. And I just started to put out memes and blogs that were like, you know what? I'm not healed. I'm still healing. Or, you know, I don't trust this man that I went on a date with. Or, he used to live with his mama, and I'm not afraid to tell him he ain't got it together. You know, I just started saying whatever I wanted. And you're right, it just picked up traction, and it gave me the confidence. It restored my sense of humor in myself. It really gave me life again. And it was this idea that I was running from women that I thought had it all, when really they needed a lot of me to admit my vulnerability. So that they could live in their truths. And so that's how Dear Young Queen started, and it keeps continuing to grow. And I'm just, hopefully, will stay authentic, stay true, and keep giving women, a place to go and live in reality.
Yeah. I'm glad you did that, because I feel like in general, whether it's relationship issues or issues with finding your career, really finding yourself in general, I feel like people suffer in silence because they're embarrassed to put it out there or whatever. But once you do start being transparent with what's going on with your life, you feel like, okay, well, actually, I'm one of about 75 other women that are at this stage or whatever that feel like they should have it together, but they don't, and it's okay.
And I was so embarrassed, and it took me putting out 2 blogs before another woman reached out to me, and she said, hey, my boyfriend also plays in the NBA, and he also never came home this year. And I was like, oh, this is a thing. There's nothing wrong with me.
Right.
It was him and his unhappiness and everything that he had going on. And so immediately you go from feeling alone to feeling like there is a group of women that relate. You hit it right on the head.
Yes. Okay, now Ashley.
Yes.
I was following you for a long time. Because my husband, he's a big Kevin Hart fan. And whether he's sending videos of Kevin, et cetera, I'm always like, oh, Kevin look nice, kind of thing. So how did you get into the styling industry or fashion industry? And
Yeah. So I'm originally from Seattle, and I and I started working with a local magazine after graduating from college because I literally had no idea what I wanted to do. And with the on-staff photographer, I was like, let's do a fashion let's do like a fashion shoot. And he was like, okay, let's do it. And so I started like producing it. I found the models. I went to Nordstrom and got clothes, and I produced this whole shoot, and I had no idea that this could be a career. And so once I did that and I loved it, and I was like, wow, this is what I want to do. And so I researched it, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to fashion school. So I moved to LA, and I went to FITM downtown and immediately started assisting stylists, and kind of just everything just really fell into place, which is how I knew I was doing what I was supposed to do. Kevin was actually my very first client. Wow. I met him at a party, and I had my little business cards printed. I had never styled anyone on my own.
But you had them cards.
At all, yeah. But I had my business cards, Ashley North, stylist. Like, here you go. I saw him at a party, got brave enough. At this time, this was like 14 years ago. So he was really just like the guy from Soul Plane at the time. That's how I recognized him. And I just went up to him, handed him my card, and literally like a month later, he called me and was like, hey, I'm doing this show on BET. Do you want to dress me? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And literally the rest is history. He's been my longest and most loyal client, and opened a lot of doors for me. And I'm very grateful to him for that. So yeah.
I love that story because you were prepared for the moment.
Oh, yeah.
Like you said, you're like, I haven't even done this before, but I have my cards. So I was
my little business cards. Now people don't even have business cards really anymore. But 14 years ago, that was all you got. Like, call me on my home phone. Here you go. Like, yeah.
So you managed to continue your career, or let me backtrack a little bit. When we had the ladies on, we talked about a lot of times spouses put a pause in their career and allow their husbands to do their thing, right? But you kept your career going and thriving. Like how were you able to manage that and be a mom and the whole nine?
It was not easy. I will say that the years when Deshaun was still playing and I was traveling back and forth like weekends with the baby in tow, it was very taxing. And I will say that there were times where my career just had to take a back seat because, my family is most important always. So there were times when I would miss out on opportunities and whatnot. But, luckily I had a client that was loyal to me and was willing to work, with me and my schedule. But it was exhausting. It was exhausting. It was a lot of traveling with like a 2, 3, 4-year-old. Like, It was a nightmare, actually.
She's like, it was a nightmare.
When he retired, I was so happy. I was like, yes. But yeah, no, it wasn't easy, but I knew that I wasn't going to give up my career. It was something that I was so passionate about. And I always tell women, like, it's important to like be the support system and the backbone for your family, but it's also important to be yourself and explore the things that you want to explore and stay true to who you are. And Deshaun was always very supportive of that, so I got really lucky, but it was exhausting. I will say. I'm still tired from all the years.
Styling, you just styled, who did you had a client for the NFL Honors.
I did. I styled Keegan-Michael Key, who hosted the NFL Honors, and he's actually a new client. That was the first time I had worked with him, but it was great. And it was fun to be a part of the show, because I've been to the ESPYs, but never attended the NFL Honors. So it was really nice to be there backstage and like see everything. Yeah.
So how do you come up with, do you meet the person, do you see their personality, or do you already have an idea in mind and you're like, okay, I know what I want to put on you?
Yeah, so it's interesting because, as a stylist, like you have a vision of like how you want someone to look. Mm-hmm. I've also, sort of cultivated, I guess what you could call like sort of like a signature style for myself or what I'm best at. And so I think a lot of times clients will reach out to you knowing like, oh, well, she does this is her body of work. But you do have to really work with the client. Everyone's different. And so just going into like meeting new clients, you want to fuse the two together, because it's like, I can make this look, but if you can't pull it off or if it doesn't fit you, you're gonna look ridiculous regardless. So we're shooting both of ourselves in the foot. So I always try and work with the client, and like someone like Kevin, he can do a lot. Someone like Keegan, he's a little more classic. Like he was really interested in like a 3-piece suit. I don't really do a lot of 3-piece suits, but I'm open to it. Let's do it. We'll figure it out. Here we go. So it's really a collaboration between me and the client every time.
I would say is like, Ash has just recently picked up some big NBA clients, NFL clients, Myles Garrett, Donovan Mitchell. And I'm watching her also like go from, she does red carpets, actors, right? Yeah. And now all of a sudden like tunnel fits are a thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like tunnel fits are everything. So I'm watching her be like, wait, but it needs to be tailored and I want this, and Ash, she's not listening. And I'm like, I know, it's a new space. So it's really cool as you ask that question, like I'm watching her even fine tune it right now with a new clientele. It's really cool.
Nice. Okay, so let's get into this podcast.
Yes, Ask Ashley. Wait, before you get into it, how do you guys differentiate yourself? Because you guys all know they're both Ashleys. So like, when you're on there, is one Ashley North, one's Ash W?
This is like a question.
Yeah.
You're gonna answer to any name. Ash, Ashley, like whatever it is, you're gonna turn around. Actually, that also gets us sometimes too. It's like, yeah, huh? No. So there is really no difference. We just have to make eye contact. Like, okay, you're talking to me. Got it. But she's Ashley and I'm Ashley W.
Got it. Okay, fair enough. All right, let's talk about Ask Ashley. Y'all, listen. I don't know if they know.
I mean, y'all getting a glimpse of just the true transparency. But okay, so why did you guys start the podcast? And
yeah, so naturally, as I just explained to you guys earlier, I had been in this place where I was trying to refigure out who I am as a single woman with no partner and all of those things. Someone had, unlike Ashley, had given up my career to participate in his. And so we knew that while we were best friends and we were each other's support system, we did see things a lot differently in life. I have a little sister who's 24 years old. At the time, she was going to Vanderbilt and her boyfriend was a senior at Michigan State in the Final Four. And my sister had all these dreams and aspirations and things that she aspired to that from what she saw on television. She saw girls that looked like us, that were only standing next to men as their support system, their basketball wives, their love and hip hops, and all of these things. And while I was trying to combat that with Dear Young Queen, I wanted to do more. I wanted to show young women that you could have it all and still be rooted in education and still be rooted in your career and still have extreme confidence. And I knew that that was one thing together that we shared and we built each other up in. So we talked about it for a while. We're like, honestly, we want to give women a real look.
Yeah.
Like, it looks cute to dress up and be on your red carpet or whatever, but can we talk about the fact that he didn't come home till 4 a.m.? Can we talk about what it means to forgive someone that's like hurt you and hurt you and hurt you? And we wanted them to know that there was like another side to this life that young women were aspiring to. And we didn't want to shit on it. We didn't want to put it down.
Yeah.
We just wanted you to know that sometimes it hurts, and sometimes it's incredible, and sometimes it opens up doors, and sometimes it shuts doors. And so we, probably 2 years, we went back and forth like, let's do it, let's not, let's do it, let's not. And we started to see some of the examples that we didn't want pop up more and more. And we're like, we have to. Like, we don't have a choice anymore. And so we started our podcast a year ago. We're 1 season in. And we spend our time just really discussing what we like to call the fuckery that women go through. From parenting a terrorist 4-year-old to like disaster dates. And we wanted all of it to be on Front Street. And we wanted women to live in their truth and know that you could still be cool and you could still have a great career. You could still be popular on Instagram or whatever these young kids care about. But also you needed to be rooted in something more. And so that's why we started it, and we're a year in, and I think we're achieving that goal.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, so they are extremely transparent and vulnerable on this podcast, right? But it's still only a glimpse into your life, right? So how have you handled like people coming up to you feeling like they know exactly what's going on with your life and giving you life advice and everything else when you're like...
It happened to me first, and I called Ashley immediately, like, yo, I actually wasn't prepared for a stranger to know my favorite sexual position. Like, it was fine while we were in the studio recording together and edited and it went out to the world, but when I was in Nordstrom and some girl walked up to me, she was like, I love this too. I was like, oh, they can't know this about me. So yes, that was when it first happened to us, I was like, oh, people want to talk about my sexual life with me, and I'm like, oh no. But there's something really freeing about it. There's something freeing about knowing that I don't have to hide what I like, and that it doesn't change who I am as a woman. It actually allows women to feel more comfortable. So for instance, you were at the dinner in New York.
I was.
So we did one here in LA, and one of the questions was, and I know you guys have a more PG podcast, so take it out. One of the questions.
It's not. Go ahead.
Okay. One of the questions was like, what kind of porn do you like to watch? And a couple women in the room were like, I like to watch lesbian porn. I'm straight, I got a husband, da-da-da. And all the women in the room were like, oh my God, I didn't want to admit that because I thought that meant this about me. And all of a sudden, we were having this transparent conversation that had nothing to do with your sexual preference. It had nothing to do with what you were choosing in life, but like a secret that felt like this, again, like we said earlier, doesn't have to be a secret.
Right.
Yeah. It's like that one person that says something and everybody's like, oh, you know?
Yeah. I love my man. You know what I mean? It's got nothing to do with it, but I've never felt comfortable sharing that maybe something like that could have ever piqued my interest. And so while it's a little scary, it's very freeing.
Yeah.
It's very freeing.
But on the opposite side, what about the people that are like, like, you know,
Or you
and there's those people and there's like,
and they like, what?
I like to do that, and everybody's like,
It's school drop-off, they know your
I
business.
know. I struggle with that a little bit because I do have young girls and we are fairly open.
Yeah.
And I struggle with that a little bit, but at the end of the day, I think I'm raising girls that I want to be themselves and be authentic and empowered to just truly be who they are. And so like, yeah, there's some things that I definitely don't want my daughters to hear or know.
Which is why we have premium content.
Yes,
if you subscribe, you can pay to hear it.
But at the end of the day, like I did a reality show, and one of the reasons why I wanted to do a podcast was because I did this reality show and I thought, oh, this is going to be great because I'm going to be able to show people like who I really am and like what this world is about and like what I do. And it was the complete opposite.
Yeah.
It was so produced and so scripted. And I came out of that it was an awful time for me. And I came out of that feeling very discouraged. And, you know, like you're saying, people get this idea of you and it was nothing like I really was. So for me, the podcast has actually been great because I've been able to now present who I actually am.
Yeah.
And
be in control
and
of
be
it.
in control of it. And that's one thing that I've really enjoyed. So.
And the other thing that's important too is that sometimes we have conversations and 24 hours later, she's like, you know what? I actually wouldn't want my daughter to hear that.
Yeah.
Let's get rid of it.
Yeah. Or like on our Super Bowl edition, I said something.
It's not down yet, Ashley.
I
Chill
know.
out. It's not ready yet.
I said something and I literally
we're can get home, okay?
we're editing the podcast and I like Deshaun was in the kitchen and I went in there and I was like, so I said this on the podcast. What do you think? He was like, And I was like, you're right, let's get rid of that. You know, so it allows you to like, you know, you get it out there, but then you can always
Reel it back in.
just a little bit.
Or you can reword it. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's just like saying it in a different way so that,
I have a way of just saying things very aggressively and then being like, oops.
Just kidding.
So yeah.
So I have a question for you guys. This is it relates to your podcast. What is I guess from a listener, the viewership standpoint and people watching you guys, what is the biggest reaction you guys have received from something that you've said on social media or on the podcast?
I don't know. It wasn't backlash, but Ashley and I did like this Hinge deep dive where she got on my Hinge account and like just started going through all the guys that are in there. Oh, okay. Let me put the married girls on.
It's a dating.
Okay, so for all the married women, there's all these different dating apps, right? There's The League, there's Hinge. People talk about like Tinder, Raya's all the rage, right? And so Ashley likes to go on my dating apps and like, I'm gonna pick the person for you. I know what you need. I know what you're missing. So we did this incredible
That is
deep.
pure entertainment for somebody in a long-term relationship. Be like,
What?
oh,
You'd
this
be
is
like,
what's out
oh,
here.
look at, yeah.
Right.
No, like,
She's
it's
like,
so
look at
much
him.
fun.
I'm like,
I'll start
Ashley,
texting the guys too. Like, it gets out of control, but it's a lot of fun.
I'm like, but you guys don't know what to look for. Yeah. You guys are like so out the game, you don't know that like certain hints and pictures are like things you
Red
need to
flags,
pick up
like-
on. Yeah.
Like what? Give me an example.
Like, I don't know, like I'll be like, Ashley, his suit is too tight or whatever. And she'll be like, she just doesn't get it. Like there are certain signs
Like,
that
you
say
can
like,
change it. Buy him a new suit. It's fine.
she's like into changing men. I'm like, we're grown. They're in their 30s. They're who they are.
settled.
Yeah.
We can't. But what was really amazing that came out of that is actually now one of our ad partners is OkCupid. So our little exploratory dating app situation, and now we have a dating app partner that not only supports the podcast, but we're really big fans of as well.
Okay, so how is it working out so far?
I'm starting to believe that I'm the problem. I know they spend your whole life telling you it's not you, it's him. I'm starting to walk that back. I can't lie to you.
Okay, we're gonna work on that.
Yeah, please.
We're gonna work on that.
Also, I know your man got friends. What's good? We can't talk about that. Why your married friends never put you on?
I've tried several times and it never worked out.
Listen, it's hard. It's not as easy as you think because how you see someone is different than two people connecting. You know what I mean? So it's
Or
I know, but
sometimes
y'all
we
got the
saving you
eyes.
from yourself.
See?
We know what's gonna
That's
happen.
it, see?
We looking
That's
out
it.
for you.
That's really it. Yeah.
All right, ladies. So let people know, I guess I would say, what's one thing that you guys would like to share with the audience that they may not know about you, you know, outside of sexual positions and dating?
If you listen to the podcast, you pretty much know everything about it.
I think that the one thing that we could and should share, particularly when you're in an incredible group of women, like around an incredible group of women like this, is that, like I said, we spun on this podcast for 2 years. Ashley and I do our podcast, you know, we have a small team, but pretty much completely ourselves. We book the studio, we book our guests, we found the film crew, we found the producers, we figured out how to use Buzzsprout, Riverside, right? And if I could leave you with anything, I would probably say that we're two people that believe in women and believe in the power of what you can do when you combine with other women. Look at, like, literally look
Real
around.
talk.
It is.
It's beautiful. And so what people don't know outside of us being each other's best friends, we're really girls.
Yeah.
We believe in the power of women. We believe in the power of us connecting together. And we believe that when you put your heads together, you can create magic. Look at you guys.
I know.
Look at you. Hello? I know you're on year 3. Like, this is a big deal. You guys should pat yourself on the back. It's
really
not just
amazing.
the way.
So she is like, I looked at her when she started bigging you up immediately. Like, you really are a girl's girl. No, thank you.
Yeah,
Yes,
definitely.
we appreciate that. And
Wait, before we go, we need y'all to commit live on air.
Yeah.
How much longer until we get you on Ask Ashley?
You
the
gotta
podcast?
come on Ask Ashley and answer our
Give
questions.
me a reason.
Y'all gonna
to leave
learn
them
where
kids
your
at home.
husbands, tune your husbands out. Y'all gonna learn what you really wanna know.
she's right. Even when I went to the dinner some of the questions you were asking, I was like, ooh, this is getting real. I had to get my mind right.
But also how
It was fun.
It's fun.
It wasn't like fluff conversation. It was like you were asking real conversations, real questions, and made people really think. It's not rehearsed. You have to think about it. So it was fun.
So, sometime before season 2 is over.
I got you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All
Gonna
right.
make it happen.
You have until July.
Okay.
Thank you,
I think
ladies,
we
so
can-
much for joining us.
Thank you for
appreciate
having
you.
us. We're so proud of you guys. Keep doing what you're doing.
And up next, we're going to have some conversation with the men. So stay tuned. So you guys have met a lot of women today. So we thought we'd switch it up for you. So I'm gonna start with introducing this guy. You may know him. He played 11 years in the league, and then he went on to take the media world by storm. He worked for Good Morning Football, and he worked for NFL Today, and now he's moved on to CBS Mornings. Please welcome my sexy chocolate husband, Nate Burleson!
Sexy chocolate. What?
All right, and this other man, he played 10 years, went from 0-16 to winning the Super Bowl. He did a little bit of media, and now he's this, big real estate developer. Gosh.
Mogul.
Mogul, okay? Please welcome my husband, Cliff Avril.
I don't like that intro.
You don't like that intro?
I didn't like that intro. I didn't like that intro.
You know what it was? It
She
was
was
a sexual
confused. She was confused. I didn't like that intro.
You didn't get no sexy
chocolate like that.
You're right. My bad.
We're going to always compete.
Y'all are best.
That's a fact.
That's what teammates do.
Exactly.
Thank you guys for joining us today. We're excited to have y'all on. We're going to ask you a couple questions, but we're going to also let Nate kind of do his thing, bounce back and forth between him and Cliff.
You put a mic in front of Nate, he going to take over anyway.
Yes, real talk. So we're going to sit back and drink our water and let you guys take over. So go ahead, Nate. You can start off. Welcome everyone, and we're gonna
It's a takeover, bro.
We're gonna
It's a
sip
takeover. It's a
our
takeover.
water, and we're gonna come in at the end and ask you guys a few questions.
All right, sounds good. How's everybody doing out there? We good? Give it up for Atoya and Tia, doing their thing. We appreciate you guys including us in the InsideLINES podcast and on this journey. And I'm gonna talk about it a little bit later, but me and Cliff were just speaking backstage. We are extremely proud of you guys. We'll give you your flowers here in a little bit, but we want to talk about the game in the moment and what the Super Bowl means. Now, I played 11 years, made it to some playoff games. I got close, but never to the mountaintop. So Cliff, I do want to start with you about this game specifically. You have the Los Angeles Rams, anchored by a quarterback that we're both familiar with, Matthew Stafford, against the Cincinnati Bengals, overcoming all odds, and they find themselves in one of the most highly anticipated Super Bowls of all time. So just quickly, generalities, your thoughts on the game.
My mic not working?
I don't
Mic
know.
check,
Why
mic
did you
check,
guys
mic
give me
check.
this mic? I have a mic too.
Oh, well then I don't think you need that one.
I don't need it? Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm like,
Our bad.
double up?
That's just for
Okay.
show?
He said, Nate, give me your mic. On the game, man, obviously, that's what's great about the NFL is the teams that you typically expect to win, the teams that you think are going to lose, you just never know. And I think that's why people love the NFL so much is because any given Sunday, you might take that L. Nobody really expected the Bengals to be here, right?
It's a fact.
LA, they had all the superstars. Me personally, I didn't know if it was going to work out because we've seen that before where a whole bunch of superstars get together and they usually implode because of ego and whatever else. So these guys were able to make it happen. I say all that to say, if I was going to pick a team, I would go with the Rams based on, like you just said, Stafford, right? We've always seen the talent that Staff had, but the market and the place where he was at.
I mean, you knew him as a young quarterback.
Oh, I knew him early on. I mean, he was second year. He was a rookie. So I've known him, for a long time. So we've seen the progression, but he's always had a rocket as an arm. He was always smart.
Yeah.
Now he's just in a market where, they can promote him too. Now everybody's looking at him like, he's a Hall of Fame type player. We've already known that. Like the numbers spoke for that.
Yeah.
So I would say LA, and then that defense, man. I'm a big Aaron Donald fan.
Woo, you're a monster.
Best in the game, one of the best that I've ever seen do it with my two eyes. And I think he's going to be the difference maker in that game. to give them the best chance to be able to win.
Yeah, I agree. We saw Matthew Stafford when he was a young quarterback. He was tough.
Yeah.
He was like very laid back. You know, in the NFL, you can quickly get wrapped up in your own ego. And this is coming from a diva wide receiver, so I know all about it. But Matthew, he wasn't that. He was a guy that just wanted to play football. You know, I'll share a couple of quick stories that will kind of put things in perspective of who he is as a man and as a player. So one time we're playing against the New England Patriots, right? And I'm running a seam route, which is basically up the hashes. I'm in the slot, running up the middle of the field. Now, I get about 15 yards down the field, and the DB is literally right where Cliff is. He's like in my hip pocket. And any quarterback would see that, and he would think to himself, I'm not going to throw this ball because my receiver's not open. But he looks at me, and I look at him. I give him the nod, and not the nod, throw it to me. I'll give him one of these. Don't throw that, right? He looks at me like Gary Payton on the fast break looking at Sean Kidd. He's like, I'm throwing this thing. So I look at him. He uncorks this ball, and it is whistling through the air. As my eyes get bigger and my hands go up, which are signals for a DB to know the ball is coming, he recognizes the ball is coming. He turns his head. By the time he turns his head, the ball is already in my hands. I catch it like this. I get my feet down, score a touchdown, and I'm just laughing. I'm laughing. I walk to the sideline, and I'm like, Matt, why in the hell would you throw that ball, right? And he said, I knew by the time he turned his head, I can get the ball to your hands before he recognized it was in the air. And that right there showed me how much confidence he has in his arm strength. Now, that's physical talent. This next story is one of the reasons why I love Matthew Stafford, and it speaks to having this collection of superstars and Avengers on your team, but having a quarterback that can anchor everybody because his spirit is based in football. So, as you guys can tell, I like to talk a little bit, right? Right. Yeah, it's my first drink though.
Oh, okay.
I think I'm still buzzing from last night. So, I was the poet on the team. You know, if we needed to get going at practice, they look at me. I hit you with a few bars, and everybody would get going. And on game day, you know, guys like Dominic Raiola, our center, he'd come to me and he'd be like, Nate, I need that Super Bowl speech. And I'm like, bro, it's the preseason, bro. I can't. He's like, I need it today. And I would speak from the heart. I would say whatever I felt, whether it had to do with the team, the city we were playing in, Detroit. I mean, to the point where I would get done talking, look up, and guys would have tears in their eyes. So I remember like doing it after one game, and Matt came up to me and he said, man, how do you do that? And I'm like, what? He's like, how do you get up in front of the team and talk to us in the way that you do without stuttering, without stumbling over your words? And I was like, well, one, I love poetry, but two, I speak from the heart. So I think about what is the most impactful in the moment, what my guys need to hear in order to go out there and have an amazing game. And I said, no, you do a good job though. And he's like, I hate talking in front of the team. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, I don't like doing it. I was like, but you do it. You're a quarterback. And then he said something that kind of blew my mind. He said, I said, so then how do you do it? When you talk in front of us, you seem pretty cool. How do you do it? He said, I imagine I have my helmet on, because when I have my helmet on, that's when I feel at home. Like, that's the type of quarterback I love, because it's not about the glitz, the glamour, the payday. It's just about football. So that's why I'm also choosing the Rams, because I feel like— It was a long one to answer, by the way. Yeah. It was a very long one to answer. Come on, man, you know me.
You know this.
But moving forward, Cliff, you played in the big game.
Yeah. A couple of times, by the way.
A couple times. My bad. Y'all lost the second one, though.
Hey, but we won one. Hey,
true.
Whoa, we're not talking about it. We talking about the big game.
I'm just saying, you should have gave the ball to Marshawn.
I didn't have nothing to do with that. I'm agreeing with you.
Okay, all right. But what is that like, though? Because, this is like my brother right here. So, and I told him straight up, I'm jealous. I'm envious. The football guys didn't reward me with a Super Bowl. I gave everything to this game. And I love the fact that you can put everything into a season and then cap it off by winning the Lombardi and getting a ring. So we oftentimes talk about it, but what is it like, though? Getting through the season, the bumps and bruises, the aches and pains, the criticism, going into the playoffs where basically it's a shake of the dice, anybody can win, and then knowing that you are moments away from being immortalized. what was that moment like?
Well, I think for me in particular, you know, I mean, as you know, we played in Detroit. So for me, it was the combination of just everything up until that point. Yeah. Went 0-16 as a rookie. Only had one winning season up until that point, my 6th season in the league, right? So when you're on teams like that, you know, the atmosphere, everything, it's a dog-eat-dog world. Like, everybody's just trying to make sure that they don't get fired based on how terrible this team is, right? So those years of grinding through and figuring out what the NFL is about, when I get to Seattle, it's a whole nother set of headaches, right? Because myself, Michael Bennett just show up. Both of us are top free agents. Both of us know we're supposed to be starting defensive ends. Like, we've been starting the last few years. Right. And neither one of us are starting. I remember looking at Michael Bennett week 3, I'm like, I don't know if we made the right decision coming here. On some ego stuff though, right? On some like, man, I'm not playing as much as I'm playing a lot. I'm just not starting. And as a player,
you want to start.
You want to come out the tunnel.
You want to run out that tunnel.
You want to come out the tunnel, right?
Yeah, that's a fact.
So you know, just dealing with the mental piece of it, being in a new city, you know, wife, trying to figure things out, all these different things. So as the season gets going, it became one of the situations where Mike and I looked at each other like, man, you know what? Hey, these are the cards that's dealt right now. We're just gonna go out here and ball out. Yeah. And then over the season and just winning ball games and just building that trust with all the guys, because it's our first year there. You know, that was a mental issue or problem that we were having. But once you get over that, winning those ball games and getting around Richard Sherman and all these guys and finding your space and how you're gonna make this team great.
That team was nasty, bro.
Making the team great, right?
Some superstars, man.
So getting to the point where, honestly, when we got to the Super Bowl game, it wasn't a doubt in my mind that we wasn't gonna win that game.
Really?
Bro, everybody, and this is the first time this ever happened in my career, where we in the D-line room watching film, we looking at them like, these guys ain't that good. Like, what's the hype about? Because they were supposed to be the best offense ever at the time or whatever. Right. And then you go into the locker room, I look at the DBs, it's like, bruh, they not that good.
They not built like that.
You look at Marshawn's like, oh, they defense not even built like that. Like, they not that nice. And it's the first time where everybody collectively was like,
we got this.
Oh yeah, we about to take over. And so from the very first play, got the fastest score in Super Bowl history, by the way. Yours truly. But honestly, it was such a blowout. So by the second half, at halftime, I'm telling all my guys like, hey man, it's still Peyton Manning over there. Like, we can't give in. We can't, like, hey. But we also know as a defense, we nice as hell too, right? Yeah. So first play of the second half, Percy Harvin takes the kickoff.
Crib.
Now at this point, it was like, okay, for a quarter and a half, we like, all right, this clock need to hurry up. Are we ready to celebrate? You say we ready? Yeah. And then holding the Lombardi, you know, like, it was just different for me because, again, I started off the worst possible way ever, going 0-16 to being I was the only player for the longest that went 0-16 to winning the Super Bowl. And that was just a life lesson. It's like, it's not how it starts, it's how it finished. So it just felt a little different for me.
Speaking of that, how it starts and how it finishes, here's another, I think, pretty cool story. So when I was in Detroit, Sean Jefferson was my wide receivers coach. He was a former NFL player. We call him Triple OG. Good dude, just very honest. He always pulled back the curtain on what was going on behind the scenes, kept it real with us. He had a young son by the name of Van
Jefferson,
who would come in and he would sit with me and Calvin and we'd give him game, teach him about how to dominate in middle school and high school, tell him how much we were fans of his. And I like speaking encouragement into people's lives. And I'll say it over and over again until you believe it. So I would always say, you know, your pops, you coming from a legacy of a great wide receiver, but one day, like, I'm gonna be talking about you. One day, it's gonna be me cheering for you. Wow. You fast forward all the way up until now. 2 days ago, I'm sitting at the NFL Network. I get a FaceTime, and I don't pick up a lot of FaceTimes. And I pick up the phone, and it's Van Jefferson, who is now the wide receiver for the Los Angeles Rams, getting ready for his first ever Super Bowl. Wow. He's on his way in the bus. They were headed to the hotel, and I'm like, well, what's up, Van? And he said, hey, Nate, I just wanted to call you and tell you how much I appreciate you. tell you how much I look back at some of those days I spent with you and Calvin. And, you know, I look up to you in so many ways. So I wanted to know if there was any advice you can give me before I head into this big game. I never even played in the Super Bowl. So I'm like, I'm kind of tripping out. I'm like, yo, I don't know what I can tell you about this big game, but what I do know is life has put you in this position because you're destined to be here. Like, I feel like life is a collection of moments, and anytime there's an opportunity, don't ever get rattled by the door opening. Just know it was supposed to open, and you were supposed to walk through it. So I'm like, with your pops, you being around some great, I'm not talking about me, you're hanging around Calvin Johnson as a middle schooler. Like, these are all moments that help you get to the point you're in now. And he's sitting next to Cooper Kupp, who is the best wide receiver in the game. Odell Beckham, who has had one hell of a journey to get here, playing in his first Super Bowl. And you are basically the third wide receiver on a team that is about to face the Cincinnati Bengals. The reason why that's special to me as a guy who was okay with being the Robin to somebody else's Batman, defenses are going to focus on Cooper Kupp. They're going to focus on OBJ. I said, so
Time to eat.
this is your
Time
moment.
to eat.
This is your
Yes,
moment.
sir.
So he's sitting on that bus, and you know, he looks at me. He says, "Man, I appreciate you, OG." And then the last thing I said to him, I said, "Go win a Super Bowl for those of us that didn't have a chance." And he said, "I got you, big bro." And that was the last thing he said. So
Nice.
talk about life coming full circle, you know.
What's crazy with that though is Sean Jefferson's from Jacksonville, and my best friend used to date his niece, right? So for the draft,
separation.
but my draft, he told me to come stay because I didn't want to watch the draft when I was getting drafted. I didn't want to watch the draft with my family because I just didn't know where I was going to get drafted, nervous, whatever. So he wasn't even there. He had my cousin or whatever, and we stayed at his crib to watch the first round of the draft or whatever. Sean Jefferson's the one that called me when I went to Detroit because he was in Detroit. So it all
and it ended up being your coach.
and it ended up being my coach. But I remember Van through the years coming up and always just having the ball in his hand. Now this man playing in the Super Bowl. It's
Playing in the
crazy.
Super Bowl is
It's
crazy, man. Yeah.
So I want to switch gears a little bit.
Okay.
Okay.
She said we're talking too much.
I know we switching gears a little bit. Okay. So we recently lost a friend of the show, Chesley Chris, after suffering from high functioning depression. And you all know all too well what it's like to feel one way, but still have to get up and perform, no matter what you may be feeling mentally or emotionally. Can y'all talk a little bit about like your experience with having to show up when you didn't really want to?
One, rest in peace, Chesley Chris. I worked with her at Extra. She was like a little sister to me. The brightest light everywhere she went. You know, I work 1,000 jobs, so I would show up to our set, and usually I'm just sitting in the corner collecting my thoughts, getting ready for my second work day of that day. And she would burst in. She'd be like, "Nate, you ready?" And I'm like, "I am now, girl, let's do this." But her light was always on. And people were asking me, like, "Did you ever see anything? Did you ever recognize something about her? Were there any hints?" And just thinking back, maybe it was that her light was always on and she felt the pressure of wearing the weight of the world as a coat, and it just got too heavy. So that kind of tripped me out, as my wife knows. Like I don't deal with death easily, and especially young people. But it does put things in perspective because as men, you know, and athletes, we're taught to power through everything. Like an injury for us isn't an injury for the average dude. No. You know, we can have the same ankle sprain. The guy working in a cubicle downtown will take 6 weeks to heal. For us, the doctors are lying to us and saying, we can get you back in 2 or 3. And because we want to get back on the field, and we're foolish enough to feel like we have superpowers, we rush back. The same thing happens for our mental health. We get exhausted, we get tired, we get depressed, and we don't say anything because eventually we'll heal. Yep. We'll get over it. Yep. I'll get back on the field and get back on that hamster wheel and get to moving again. I think recently with athletes speaking out about their mental health, we had a football player this year who set out a few games. Naomi Osaka, Simone Biles, the list goes on and on and on, where athletes are finally stepping up and saying, okay, regardless of how much you think I'm making or the stage that I'm on, I'm exhausted. And if I don't say anything and take a break and check on myself, then it's not only gonna be bad for me, it's gonna be bad for my team. You know, I heard somebody say something about mental health, and they compared it to the masks that drop in a plane when there's turbulence. And he said, you know, they always tell you, put your mask on first before you assist the younger person next to you. And he said the same thing with your mental health. You have to check on yourself first for everybody else around you to be safe. So at 40 years old, I'm coming to this realization. I didn't think about mental health in my 20s, early 30s, and I'm still learning about myself. You know, it's very fluid. But I am proud that athletes are shedding their ego and all that bravado and saying, you know what, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to be weak, which in sports, we don't talk about weakness.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the one thing we hate talking about. But it's okay to recognize your weakness, because if you recognize it, just like in the weight room,
You can fix it.
you can fix it and work on it. So that's where I'm at when it comes to mental health.
Oh, there's still time for me? No. No. I mean, especially in the NFL where it's a dog-eat-dog world, you talk about, you know, having to work through injuries. I mean, I think about all the injuries that I had to play through that, looking at it as a 35-year-old is like, dang, that was stupid. And I'm paying for it now, you know what I mean, on how I feel. But, you know, it is okay to understand that, you know, you might feel a certain way sometimes and being able to deal with those. But the way the NFL is structured, and, you know, it's only 16 games, it's only 17 weeks. Hey, you only got so many games to miss before you're irrelevant, right? So you have to deal with those things to just keep your job. But it ends up biting us on the back end because of how it's structured, because it's either you're gonna be out of the league soon or you gotta just deal with these things later or whatnot. And I think having to find that balance is key. But the fact that guys are talking about it now, guys are okay talking about it now, because it was definitely something like,
taboo.
I'm just dealing with it myself. Like I don't wanna look weak, because we supposed to be these macho men, but at the end of the day, we still human beings. And I think that was key. Guys are starting to talk about it. People, coaches, organizations are starting to understand, actually have some grace and understanding with it. So I think with that comes some different solutions and resolutions as well.
That's good. So everyone has listened to our podcast and they know the things that we talk about you guys, about in the NFL, everything in general. What's one thing you guys want to tell the audience about us?
Ooh. You go first.
Nah. I'm gonna let you go first.
Ooh, don't do that. All right, shoot. No, you go first, because I can piggyback.
Listen to this. Somebody go.
All right, so
I need to think.
you know, you guys are open books, so I feel like your audience knows a lot about you. So I'm gonna take a different approach to answering this question.
There we go.
Buy you more time.
That's why you went first.
Buy you more time, huh?
Yeah. So when I met Toy, I was 17. Well, when I saw her for the first time, I was 17. And then I met her when I was 18. She was 21, you know what I'm saying? Oh, hey, cougar, you feel me?
She'll take care of me while I'm in school.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Buy me video games, give me candy. She trapped me, you know what I mean?
She got you, she knew how to get you. She got you.
Nah, I'm joking, but what I realized though, and I think Cliff could speak to this because we have talked about this, we meet these incredible women that are intelligent, gorgeous, of course, motivated, talented as ever. And then out of nowhere, we have these careers that we didn't even anticipate having it. Like, we wanted to be in the league, but nobody really thinks they're gonna make it, 9, 10, 11 years in the NFL. And we're chasing the money, chasing the fame, chasing the praise. We're chasing this like small window of time where we can set up the rest of our lives. And we become like horses running around a track, blinders on. which means we don't see what our wives are dealing with, our family members. And then you look up and you realize she literally put her whole life on the shelf and just left it there so you can chase your dream. And not only that, support you and motivate you. Be your doctor, your therapist, your confidant, your lover, your friend.
At what stage did you realize that though?
When I retired.
Yeah.
When I retired.
Yep.
Real talk.
And I'm being honest. And then you look up and you're like, oh, let me grab your life off the shelf and let me dust this thing off.
Thanks, honey. Woo!
No.
I didn't know it's dusty, y'all. Woo! We learning today.
No, what I'm saying is, in the analogy of what I'm saying is, it sat on the shelf and collected dust, and I didn't know it was there until I realized. Not only I realized like the sacrifice you have made, but then also like how much work it's going to take to polish that up again and say, go live your life. And not only that, let me support you in everything that you do. Let me be what you were to me, but even more. We've talked about this. So I think to get people to understand who you two are, it was hard for you guys to do what you did, which is be our backbone when we desperately needed you on a daily basis. But we're so thankful for you. And that's why we're proud as hell of you right now. And like I've said to many people that I work with and my business partners, you're just getting started. I feel like I lived my life. I had a great time. The second half of my life is supporting the people I love and making sure their dreams are fulfilled. And to be honest, we got a lot of time to make up for. So we got y'all back. So that's all I gotta say.
I'm
about
glad
that.
that's on record. I'm glad that's on record.
I'm not following that. That was for both of us. That was for both of us.
You wanted me to go first, bro.
That's for both of us.
That's for both of us?
Yeah, that's from both
It's
of
like
us.
it's both of ours.
Yeah, it's both of ours.
Okay, all right.
But no, but you didn't answer the question. Is what they don't know about them.
Answer. You got
Yeah,
that.
no. I know. I'm probably not gonna answer it either. But I think it's been pretty cool to watch the journey, right? Because not only are y'all doing y'all thing, but it's also like y'all are getting out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's hard. Most people aren't willing to push those boundaries. Most people want to be comfortable as much as possible, but to see y'all, I know my wife in particular, like, be a
Don't
full
say too
blown.
much.
Yeah, okay.
Don't say too much.
Be just a mess right before going on stage. Like, oh my gosh, like, oh, nervous and, up all night and like putting that work in and then.
And flip the switch.
And it's kind of like how we had to do in football. Like, we feel like crap, but as soon as that first play come around, hey, you got to go. And it's pretty cool to see that, but also understanding that, like, I know although it gets frustrating at times for y'all, that y'all continue to keep moving forward, because I'm a firm believer of, you gotta work through some stuff for it to like actually be something, right? And that's what y'all are going through. I mean, last night at the hotel, I'm like, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. Like, what you doing? Oh, I gotta get my questions together. I gotta do this, I gotta do that. And it's like, that's the grind.
Yeah.
And for me, it's pretty cool to watch because I understand that.
Yeah.
And I know it also will pay off. So hats off to both of y'all because I understand, like, I see it. I see how stressful it is, but just know it'll pay off.
Thank you.
I dropped 2 shit. I can do this too. You know what I'm saying?
That was smooth.
Well, thank you guys so much.
Yes.
We appreciate you
We
guys.
appreciate y'all. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you. I'll give myself an applause.
Coming up in less than a minute is our final segment. We're going to talk to like the most amazing, inspirational woman. So come on, stay tuned.
Yes. All right, guys. So welcome back for our final interview today. We wanted to bring some inspiration to the room. This incredible lady, she had a dream to bring vegan food to Atlanta. And this was on Atlanta's West End. She not only accomplished this dream, but she's expanded her vegan empire in a short few years. Please welcome the founder and CEO of Slutty Vegan, ATL, Pinky. Come on out.
Hey guys, hi. Hi everybody.
Listen, gorgeous.
Happy Super Bowl.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes. Thank you for
Welcome.
joining
Hey, y'all.
us.
I'm bringing some Southern hospitality.
Yes.
I know that's right. Pinky, welcome to the show. Okay.
Thanks for having me.
So first off, congratulations on like everything. I was looking at one of your posts and you reflected back on 2021 and I was like, yo, she was killing it. And then kicked off 2022 on the cover of Essence. So yes. So okay, so tell us about that experience. Like
I'm still in the experience. Have y'all seen the cover of Essence magazine?
She's on there.
You know, it's been an amazing journey. When people ask me how I feel, I'm like, all of my wildest dreams came true. I'm that little 10-year-old girl that said, when I grow up, I'm gonna make it, I'm gonna be a star. Like, I'm gonna be bigger than life. And here I am, looking not like the status quo, on the cover of one of the largest magazines in the world. And I earned it. And it feels so good when you earn your keep. So, you know, I'm happy about that.
I know that's right. Okay, so tell us about Slutty Vegan. Like, why did
Talk
you?
about the name first.
Yes.
Let's start with the name.
So can I have story time?
Yes.
Okay, so anybody ever heard of Slutty Vegan?
Yes.
Okay.
Of course.
So I used to be a television producer. So I come from the TV world. This is my world. I was a producer for The Maury Show for 3 years. I was a casting director for Yana Fix My Life and a whole bunch of other shows. So I had a restaurant at first, created this beautiful restaurant in Harlem. Shout out to Harlem, New York. And the restaurant did seemingly well. But for my 20s, I spent blood, sweat, and tears.
Wait, you were working in TV and running the restaurant?
I did. I'm Jamaican. I do everything.
You do everything?
Multiple jobs.
So I was in New York, had this restaurant, took my 401k and really built it up. But I was hustling backwards because I didn't know the first thing about really running a business. But I needed that to happen because it really put me in position to be able to open up another business. So I lost it to a grease fire, lost everything. Car got repoed, got kicked out of my apartment, literally went flat broke, failed relationship. All of the things that you never wanted to happen in a business happened for me. And then that same week, I got a call saying, do you want to work as a supervisor and producer on the show called Yana Fix My Life? So I'm like, hell yeah, I'm going. So I moved back to LA. I used to live here, actually. And while I was in LA working on the show, they called me and said, hey, Pinky, we want you to come back to Atlanta, where I went to school at. And they said, we want you to work on the show for about 3 months. So I packed up my 1-bedroom apartment. I was living in the Valley, okay? So I packed up my 1-bedroom, and I said, I'm going to come back in 3 months. When I was in Atlanta, I wanted some vegan comfort food on the late night. Right? So all of my friends was like, okay, all right, what you gonna eat? I'm like, I'm tired of eating a side salad and fries.
And French
every day.
fries.
Yes.
Yes.
And it hit me like a light bulb, which is why I tell people like that idea that's supposed to work for you, like it really don't take a lot of building and all that stuff. It's just gonna hit you, like it's gonna hit your spirit. And that hit my spirit. So it started as a ghost restaurant. And you asked me about the name, but I'm giving you more than what you asked
No,
for.
this is great.
So it started as a ghost restaurant. I named it Slutty Vegan because if I would have named it Pinky's Vegan, nobody was coming. But I knew that I could help people to reimagine food in a way that they've never seen it before. If I make it provocative, if I make you want to ask questions, and I did that. And I went from ghost kitchen to food truck to now having 5 locations, in the process of opening 5 more locations, and a whole bunch of other amazing things happening, closing on a really big raise and cookbooks and all of this good stuff. And it just shows me that like when you are in alignment with your vision, everything will work out for you.
I know that's right.
That is good.
All right. So y'all done already got a glimpse of, if you have listened to any one of Pinky's interviews, if you don't walk away like wanting to be
Inspired.
the best, whatever, create the next Fortune 500 company, like I don't know what you were just listening to then. So where did that drive come from? Like where did that passion?
Passion comes from everywhere for me. The first layer of it was the day that I was born, and obviously I didn't realize it now, full circle moment. My father was a big time drug dealer in Baltimore. So the day that I was born on December 8th, 1987. Shout out to my 80s babies. My father was being sentenced to 30 years in prison. So while I was getting my freedom and coming into the world, my father was losing his, right? So I grew up watching a Jamaican mother who at the time didn't have her citizenship. She working at McDonald's, working at the bank. She's a singer, she's a musician, she's a dancer, she's doing Sankofa, she's doing everything. Then I see my father behind bars, having to see him 2 hours at a time on holidays. but telling me about business and entrepreneurship and how to be a hustler, even behind bars and combined. So my motivation was to make sure that when I grew up, I never had children that would have to experience what I had to experience. My mother obviously did the best that she could, but I'm like, we ain't gonna live a mediocre life because I'm not regular. Right? Like, we're going to make sure that we're going to have all the things that we want, and we ain't got to beg, borrow, or steal from nobody, and we're not going to make no illegal decisions because we living righteously, right? So I had it in my mindset that I was going to work so hard that my mother would never have to work a day in her life again. And that is really my biggest motivation.
That's beautiful. That really is. Now, have you always been vegan, or what happened? Like, how did you?
What was that transition?
Yeah.
So I ate some chicken in the past.
Okay.
My mother's a Rastafarian, so I grew up in that lifestyle. So that's Ethiopian Christianity. Never seen my mother wear makeup. Clearly, I got makeup. I'm like, I'm not my mother. She never wore earrings, never shaved, nothing. A very natural woman. So we grew up eating ITIL food. And so I like to consider myself growing up as a vegetarian. And 8 years ago, I decided to go vegan cold turkey because I'm that girl. I'm like on YouTube looking at a challenge, looking at a fast, right? Like trying to be better, right? Opening up my consciousness in any way that I could. And that was the best decision that I ever made for a couple of reasons. One, because I have this level of clarity that is so unmatched because I don't eat the flesh of a dead animal. And nothing wrong with the people who do in the audience, right? I'm not that vegan. I'm not like, oh, you're going to hell if you don't eat vegan. That ain't me. I don't care what you eat. I care about me, right? But I also want to encourage people to eat better. That's the first piece. The second piece is it allowed me to position myself in my purpose. You know how people say, like, you got to find your purpose? And for a long time, I was very confused about what that purpose was because I'm like, I ain't got no real talent. I know how to run my mouth, right? Like, I know how to talk to people. I can't sing. I can't dance that good, right? But I realized through my lifestyle and wanting to see my friends live better, look better, feel better, I was able to walk into my purpose. So now I get to do what I love. I get to help a lot of people, and I get to get paid to do it. That's purpose, right? And that feels so good to me. So I'm so glad that I did it. I'll never go back. I just had a daughter 6 months ago, and she's vegan too. Do I look good, y'all? I just had a baby, y'all, 6 months ago.
I was just about to say.
But
amazing.
I'll never go back, and I'm happy that I made that decision.
Yes. Okay, so I watched your Breakfast Club interview where you spoke about like success not being just about money, and essentially making sure that you are inspiring other people to pursue whatever it is that they want to do. Can you speak a little bit about that, just essentially reaching back to other people? Because I feel like, especially with Instagram and stuff, people secure the bag and they just done with it, but not really looking back and pulling the next one.
What I learned for me specifically is anytime I've ever, which was very rare in the very beginning, a long time ago, anytime I ever put money first, it never worked, right? And I believe that when your intention is in the wrong space, then things will never work out for you. I don't care what it is, whether it's personal or professional. So everything that I do gotta be intentional first. It gotta be mission driven first, because I tell people this all the time. I'm a magnet to money. Money gonna come to me, right? Like, I attract it just because of what I speak out of my mouth. So nothing that I do, I don't care if it's $1 billion on the table. If it don't feel right in my spirit, I cannot do it. And everybody should always think like that as well, because what I've learned is because I don't move behind money, money is important, obviously. It provides us a level of freedom to get the things that we want and what we need. So we're gonna need it, it's going to have to come, but that shouldn't be a part of the first step. And because I didn't create Slutty Vegan for money, I believe that's the reason why I still almost 4 years later have lines down the block. So if you are an entrepreneur, like, make sure that what you're building is intentional. Who are you helping? What problem are you solving? Like, how are you making the world better? Because as a result of that, the money is always going to come, and you're going to try to figure out how to stop it from coming so fast.
Yeah.
I'm in a position where I'm able to say no to the biggest opportunities that I only dreamed of because I never moved for money first. I turn down opportunities because I've never moved for money first. And when you're pure-hearted and intentional about those things, everything will always work out for you.
That's beautiful. That's a word right there, y'all. Listen. So I have a question. Let's talk about your delicious food.
Yes.
Real quick, because I don't know if you guys have tried her food, but I just wanted to talk about when you came up with these ideas. Were you like, I want to make this food taste like the food that people that eat meat enjoy? So, like, what was your intention behind it?
So that's absolutely right. So the first piece is helping people to reimagine food. So although I didn't grow up eating burgers and fries, everybody around me grew up eating burgers and fries, right? So I knew that if I created something that tasted like the real thing, then people will want it. 97% of the people who come to Slutty Vegan are meat eaters. That's my audience. I don't need the vegans. They already got it figured out, right? Like we already know what to eat, right? But the people who eat pork and chicken and beef, those are the people who I want, because then I can be able to change your mind. Even if you don't want to go vegan, you could try Slutty Vegan and be vegan for Slutty Vegan, right? So it worked that way because, come on, let's talk about it for real. I lived in LA for a long time. Like, you know, sometimes us vegans could be very aggressive. And I didn't want to have a business, for real. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Really? Listen, I didn't want to be that person. And I didn't want to create a business around that. I wanted to create a business where the experience was so magnificent and it felt like you were having nostalgia and coming to your favorite place on earth, like Hershey Park, King's Dominion, Universal Studios. So you come for the experience and you leave with the food. And in order for me to meet the people where they were, I had to really add some fusion to it. And that's like hip hop music, like top 40 trap, make people feel good and infuse the culture and entertainment in it. And when I started to do that, I realized that people were having so much fun in my business, they didn't even realize they were eating vegan food.
You up there dancing and
Right, so then celebrities started to come naturally endorsing my brand, right? Never had to pay a celebrity to say my food tasted good, and I had everybody you can think of. Just recently, Justin Timberlake just came to my restaurant and ate a burger. I'm like about to pass out. But yes, it just tells you that like when you create something that's like so extraordinary and different from everything else, it really will work for you. And I got some pushback in the beginning, right? But now that pushback really turned my motivation on to go harder, and it's paying off for me. Yeah.
Okay, so you spoke about your cookbook being released this summer?
Yes.
Okay, so what can we expect from this?
So I have a cookbook coming out. It's called Eat Plants, Bitch.
Slutty Vegan.
Yes.
It's a #1 new release out right now, and it's slated to come out this summer. And it's 91 recipes for the meat lover in you. So remember, I said my audience is the meat lover. And it's all the recipes that you would cook in the house. So if you know how to read, which everybody here knows how to read, then you will be able to experience all the goodness that's in the food truck, in the cookbook. And what I did is I took a handful of local chefs and cooks in Atlanta and beyond, some in LA, some in New York, some in Chicago, and allowed them to put their own recipes so that they can showcase their business as well, because I'm all about bringing the community up. So hopefully you pre-order the book. It's coming out. It's going to be amazing. I have so many amazing things going on, and I'm just happy
Excited.
to be here.
Well, I can't wait to get it because I'm a little challenged in the kitchen. But I done told people multiple times, as long as the instructions are clear, I am good to go. Okay?
Yes.
Look, my husband laughing. He know. He'll still eat it though, but he'd be like, a little too much salt on that one, babe.
Don't worry.
when you talk about your recipes, because I'm not going to let you, I don't want you to tell everybody your secrets, but I do want to know, is there one thing that you made or that you tried to make vegan that was difficult? Like, what was the hardest thing you were like, you know what, this one I haven't quite?
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing. So it was all like.
Yeah, so I'm not a chef. I want to be clear. I'm not a chef. I did not go to culinary school.
Okay.
But I am a foodie, and I know food that tastes good.
Okay.
So it don't matter what it is. If you know good food, food is good whether it comes from an animal or not, right?
Okay.
So what I've been able to do is get creative in the kitchen, right? I just went to, there's a restaurant, y'all ever heard of Doomies? So I took my boyfriend, I'm like, we're going to a taco spot. And he's not vegan. And he like, okay, tacos, I want tacos. But it was like a vegan taco and he didn't know and he liked it. But the moral to my story is that like food that's not vegan can taste, food that's vegan can taste really, really good and taste like the non-vegan stuff. You just got to know how to apply the seasoning.
How to season.
Yeah, and just make it taste
Challenge
good.
a little bit,
And you'll never know the difference for the most part.
I need to learn some new recipes.
Yes.
We dibble dabble in the vegan world here and there.
All right, so as you just mentioned, you became a new mommy, and your business is catapulting, of course. How have you been able to find the balance? Well, I don't even want to say balance, the harmony, because I don't even think there's a such thing as balance, but harmony with new motherhood and being a business owner.
That's a good question. So when I was pregnant, that was the biggest anxiety for me, right? Like, I love business. I love the idea of being an entrepreneur. And what gave me anxiety is that I never wanted to have to compromise. I wanted to be a really good mommy, and I still wanted to be a really good CEO. But what I learned is that you don't have to compromise, right? As long as you got support, and as long as you are clear and create systems, because sometimes we don't understand that you got to create systems in your household too, right? Especially as entrepreneurs, and I had to learn that. Like, I create systems in my business, but you create systems at home too, and you treat home like a business. But because I have a village and people that want to see me win and already know that like their livelihood depends on my wins, they're also going to continue to support me, not just for that reason, but they want to see me grow and win, and I've always been like this. I've always been a career woman first, and I want mothers to understand, like, you shouldn't have to take the back seat just because you had a baby, right? I know so many mothers like, well, I had a kid and I'm putting that first. No, like, you can have it all. You can be a woman and have it all and have everything and do all the things that you wanted to do. Children or no children, and I'm just so happy that I have the right people in my space to be able to support that dream so that I don't have to stop living it and create a legacy for her so that she don't have to work for nobody for the rest of her life.
That's right.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
Have you been having any or experiencing any mom guilt?
Yes.
That's
Because I'm
real.
pregnant again. So hopefully she.
Wait a minute!
Don't tell nobody that.
She said, "Don't tell nobody."
When are y'all airing this?
Until
When is
next
this
week.
airing?
Huh?
I'm hot, right? Listen. The light. That's the only mommy guilt because I'm having another baby now, and I just had a baby, right? I've been hot in the kitchen. But I'm having another baby now, and I want to make sure that like my first child is reaching all the milestones, and that she gets the same amount of attention that the new baby gets. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nah, you'll be great. I already know you're gonna kill it. Okay.
I think about my two boys because they're close in age, and I feel you on that. When you have them really close, you always feel like that guilt of the first one kind of had to grow up a lot quicker than you expected them to. So that's a real.
Oh, and they're gonna be close.
Yeah,
They're gonna be close.
Like 12 months apart. Close.
They're best.
Your Irish twins.
It's his fault.
Do you see yourself getting back into media, like TV?
I'm in it now.
Wait a minute.
I'm talking to y'all. This
Oh.
is media TV.
I thought you
So I am working on some TV shows. Since Essence came out, there's been a lot of really big opportunities to do TV. So now I got options. Thank you, God. God is good. I just finished a documentary for Slutty Vegan about the meteoric rise of Slutty Vegan in the pandemic. So remember, we're still in it. Like, the world is crumbling on this side. My businesses continue to thrive and grow on this side. So I'm doing a documentary about how all of these elements were happening around this business that continue to grow. So that's coming out this summer. So I'm excited about that. And then I just signed a deal to do a reality show.
Nice.
Let's go.
Yes.
All right. So what's it gonna be about? They're gonna come in the restaurants.
It's gonna be like a Wahlburgers, but
Okay.
Slutty Vegan style, yeah.
I know,
About
that's
how we
right.
get to build this empire because we're moving really fast, right?
Yeah.
In 4 years, we've done what a lot of other businesses have never been able to do, which is a blessing for us. And people are just going to document all of the good things that we have going on.
Are you going to show people how to cook this vegan food?
No.
Okay.
But I'm gonna show people how to be a boss and be an entrepreneur and be
Okay.
motivated.
Fair
Yes.
enough, fair enough.
That's what
Love
I'm going to do.
Listen. I remember learning about Slutty Vegan through another one of my favorite podcasts, The Friend Zone. Like them saying, Slutty Vegan is doing a pop-up in Charlotte, we there kind of thing. And just to your point, like, you took off. And it was amazing to watch from afar and just seeing that everything you got going on now, everything that's to come, like, you are such an inspiration. And we are so excited to see what else Slutty Vegan has.
Yes.
Thank you. And I'm just excited for the growth, and I'm just blessed to be in spaces like this to be able to talk to y'all. And for the people who don't know me before this, please just look us up. And we do a lot for the community. I didn't even talk about that.
Yes. Okay.
We're going to talk about the
They've been giving us timestamps, but I've been like, no, we got to talk about this life insurance. We got to talk about like all this stuff because I'm like, that is dope as hell.
So I started the Pinky Cole Foundation in 2019, and when I talk about be intentional, that's what I meant. And it was really just a way to formalize helping people because I love to do that. So we've done a lot. I've partnered with the Steve Harvey and Marjorie Harvey Foundation to provide lights for families. I've donated hundreds of thousands of fruits and vegetables to people in the community. I paid the local rents of businesses so that they didn't have to close to the pandemic. I paid the balances of 30 college students so that they could graduate. When Rashard Brooks was murdered, my boyfriend and I, we partnered together and we life insurance for the family, brand new car, $600,000 worth of scholarships. And just most recently, we partnered with Prudential to provide life insurance for every black man in Atlanta who makes $30,000 or less. And that's just a short list. Like, I've done so much, like Department of Juvenile Justice, so much stuff. And that is what fulfills me, to be able to help people.
Let's talk about that life insurance one because, again, from the Breakfast Club interview, and I found out about you guys' partnership, that was something, one, that you don't even think about, right? Like you don't think about needing life insurance, or excuse me, the everyday person usually don't think about needing life insurance, but to gift that to somebody that don't even see that being a possibility, like, can you talk a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So we created the Square One campaign, and what I realized about people in general is that we will insure material items before we insure our lives. Right? And it's so important to make sure that our lives are secured, not just for the fact that if I pass away, then I make sure that my family is taken care of. That's obviously number one. But there's financial literacy that's involved where you can pull money out of your life insurance policy, right? So I wanted to make sure that for the people who didn't have the access or the resources in our communities to that information, I'm gonna be the change that I wish to see. Like, I want to make sure that you understand that, like, we ain't got to always do GoFundMes and fish fries, and no shade to the people who do that. But, like, we live in different times now, and we have the elements and the resources. We just got to present it to the people, and that's exactly what we're doing. We already signed up a whole bunch of people. And it's funny because, people are like, free, what's the catch? I'm like, it ain't no catch. Like, it's absolutely free. You pick your beneficiary, you pick your policy. But this was just something that we wanted to do because Black men have always been getting killed at an all-time high. And it's a sad reality. Like, how do we combat that? And I ain't no politician, but I don't need to be in office to make change. Right? So to be able to do that has just been a blessing, and I'm excited about doing it beyond Atlanta. I'm excited about coming to LA and coming to Baltimore and North Carolina and all the cities who really need it the most, and expanding it, not just from the Black man space. We just need to understand that is where the problem lies the most, and then really expanding it out so that all people understand how important life insurance is.
Well, Ms. Tinky, you are amazing.
Absolutely.
We can sit and talk to you forever, and we thank you for sharing, spending this time with us and sharing everything that you've taught us. I've learned so much just sitting here listening from the food side, from the entrepreneur side. We will definitely follow you and probably have some follow-up questions as well. But thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. You guys, Ms. Pinky, go.
Thank you.